Cricket is full of milestones, numbers and stats, and can be hard to break through the noise. Reaching 100 test matches takes incredible sacrifice, dedication and a high standard of skill over a long period of time. Two players, Southee and Williamson, will reach that milestone in the same test match here at Hagley Oval when they face up to Australia. I'm going to sit down with both of them to talk about this milestone. Tim and Kane, thanks very much for sitting down and talking to me on the eve of your 100th test match. What's the emotions? How are you feeling? Looking forward to tomorrow?
I don't know about you, Tim, like you sort of reflect on your first test match really, and how fortunate you sort of felt to have that experience, and then in contrast to then walking out and playing your 100th is incredible really, in terms of never could have dreamt of that scenario. So yeah, grateful, and yeah, looking forward to sharing the day with the big man, and had quite a journey together.
Much like Kane, just grateful for the journey, I guess the privilege of being able to do this 99 times to date, and hopefully a couple more.
Respectively, you become 5th and 6th New Zealanders to reach that 100 test milestone. You join Fleming, McCullum, Vittori, Taylor. It's quite an exclusive group, isn't it, when you mention those names?
You're right. Like, I mean, those are players that we're fortunate enough to largely play with a bit as well, and certainly grow up watching and admiring, but also experiencing their 100th games, you know, is something I remember quite vividly, and what it meant to them as well, and you don't really consider yourself in that sort of group, or you know, however you want to describe it, but
you are.
but I mean, yeah, honestly, 100 test matches, like I say, you sort of never would have imagined, especially how you felt after one, and if that was the only one, then you know, that might just be what it is, and you loved every moment of it.
I've been lucky enough to know both you guys for some time. Let's rewind back to your first test matches. Tim, 2008 versus England at Napier. Kane, 2010 versus India, Ahmedabad. Both had remarkable starts to your test career. What can you tell me? What do you remember from those first matches?
Yeah, I don't know. As a 19-year-old kid, didn't really think too much about it. It was obviously always a dream to play for New Zealand, and for it, I guess, to become a reality so quickly and at such a young age, I guess it just happened so quickly. I was excited. I was obviously nervous. I think back to it, and it was Stephen Fleming's last test match, which was pretty cool to be a part of. So there's a lot of, I guess, celebration around him, which was quite nice to take the focus off what I was trying to do. But yeah, I think just coming in, walking into a changing room and looking around and seeing guys that you'd grown up idolising, being in the backyard, and all of a sudden you're sitting in there and their teammates.
What about you, Nossi?
Playing against India in particular was, you know, looking around in the field and seeing so many of my heroes growing up, and always loved my backyard cricket, and you know, you'd select your teams, and I was looking around, I was like, all these guys were in my backyard cricket team growing up, you know, with Tendulkar and Sehwag and Dravid, Laxman, and so like I do recall that being quite interesting to try and put to one side and kind of and compete, and then sort of, you know, experiencing that series and just trying to get in the dressing room, the opposition's dressing room, and have a chat and soak up whatever you could. But the same thing, I mean, test match cricket certainly growing up, I mean, and still remains, but just the you know, the pinnacle in our sport. That, you know, it's always just such a surprise when you get the call and you get some Black Caps clothing and you're like, right, you know, this is something, test cap.
And there it is, Test 100 number 27, which has come in a controlled manner in typical Kane Williamson style. It's and gone. Good catch by Latham. Southee does it. The New Zealand skipper picks up his second. And Ollie Pope, who's looked comfortable for most of the innings, is gone. Oh, there it is. How much has he got? He's got it all right. He's got it all right. What a way to bring up 250. That's flipped away and out. There's a carry to Hess. Good catch by Lockie Ferguson. Southee's got 2 and 2.
You guys grew up playing alongside one another and probably, I'm sure, against each other in the early days. So New Zealand under-19, Northern Districts, and eventually New Zealand. Tim, when did you first come across Kane? From memory.
Under 17s.
Playing together for
Playing
ND?
together for ND under 17s.
Was it that game in Auckland?
In Auckland, I think,
yeah.
Say that story for another day. Yeah, I think it was at under 17s, but I remember we finished our train. I remember Kane was always the last one there hitting balls, and that hasn't changed. Hasn't, as you know, Macca, but I remember at the end of train it was almost like Kane would just try and line someone up and everyone would just disperse, run away, because they knew that they'd be throwing for at least half an hour and they might get 5 minutes of throws back. So it was, that was probably the first memory of Kane, of just his hunger of batting, his love for batting, and that hasn't changed throughout the whole time. But you've been very lucky to play obviously age group cricket, New Zealand under-19s, Northern Districts, and then for the last how many years, all 3 formats for New Zealand. We shared our 50th test together in Zimbabwe. But yeah, I guess just to see Kane develop into one of the best batters in the world, and arguably our greatest black cap's been pretty special.
Kane, Tim was a couple of years older than you. What were your first thoughts of Tim when you came across him?
So, I mean, yeah, I share that memory of it's probably our first game together, but I actually remember, and I think it was before that, was we had a Gillette Cup game, and Tim was this big dog, dominating everything, and I always remember that, like, he opens with a new ball and he'll take 2 or 3 at the top, and then he'll have about 10 overs off, and he'll come back and collect the rest at the end.
Get the tail, so
he'd finish with 6 or 7 every game. Just the fact that, as a guy bursting onto the scene, obviously amazing skills and an amazing talent, but just that resilience, as a fast bowler to play for the last sort of 15 years and lead the attack for most of those years, and keep sort of evolving as a cricketer, and now into leading the team is quite something.
100th test match for you both. How many test matches do you think you've played together out of the 100, if you were guessing? Because there's been injuries, there's been different things throughout, but...
Yeah. Do you know the answer?
I do, yeah, I do.
Subcontinent, where you might play extra spin.
Well, yeah.
You've got to be a few.
70 odd?
Yeah, it must be. Yeah, I don't feel like I played many without you.
No, I wouldn't have played many before you started, maybe 10 or 12.
83.
Wow.
It's a lot of cricket together over the years, isn't it?
Yeah.
A lot of time spent together.
Yeah.
Adds up.
Tim, you've probably bowled more to Kane than anyone else because of the net sessions and stuff. What makes him so good?
Hardly play a shot off him. He probably can't answer. Swings it away.
Obviously, his work ethic is second to none. As you know, Mac, having been the batting coach, he's very hard man to please, which he's always searching to get better. And you see that every time you bowl at him, he's working on something. He's looking at ways to improve his game. Here he is, 13, 14 years into his career, he's still looking at ways to get better. So I think that's one thing that sticks out. You can see when you bowl to him, he's always, every train he's looking at ways to work on things. And again, having to juggle all 3 formats for that time, and the chopping and changing of the formats, and the ability and the way that he's been able to do that is not easy, but he's found a way to do that. So
throw the captaincy as well, that takes time.
Yeah, for a long period of time, which made him slightly grumpier than what he used to be. He's starting to smile again now in the last 6 months or so, but
pass the captaincy on. No, I mean, yeah, it is interesting. You know, the journey's not just yours, right? You know, there's so many people involved, and yeah, I mean, I hadn't really given it a huge amount of thought before, and it was just more about focusing on the next series, the game, sharing that day with Tim as well. Obviously, we've been on a bit of a journey together. You know, I suppose we've spoken about 100 tests, but there's been so many more as a collective and as a group.
Family plays a big part for both of you. Both got young kids and beautiful families. Tell me about the different perspective that you've had now that you've got young kids and watching them grow up as you continue playing cricket. Change anything? Less sleep?
Oh, it changes your life, doesn't it? You know, and cricket's a big part of our life. We've spent a lot of time doing it, and your priorities do change a little bit naturally. You know, you've got children, and it's incredible, and it's nice to share you know, some of that journey and with them as they sort of start to grow up a little bit, although they're all quite young at this stage. And I think it's something you notice, you know, when you start, and it's always those old guys that have kids, you know, and we're the young guys, and now
we're those old guys.
Come through together, yeah. We've come through together, and we're, you know, and those young guys are probably saying the same thing, but it's pretty awesome to experience that.
Yeah, I think your priorities change. They put things into perspective. It's not easy on our wives, the amount of time we spend away, so the jobs that they do.
100 tests, it's 100 weeks, eh?
Yeah.
That's at least they come. That's a lot.
So yeah, I think the biggest thing is though, like, it's for so long the game can kind of consume you, but you sort of leave the game, and obviously you got your family and other things that put things into perspective.
You know, so many fond memories in the Whites as a team, and they're all great. You know, like the test format in particular, it is the one that you do talk about these things, and you do remember these things, eh? And I think that adds to why it's quite special.
Is it your favourite format? I know you play all three formats, and it's hard at times because there's special things that happen in all three different formats, but do you get the most pleasure out of Test cricket? Yeah,
I certainly have a love for Test cricket, which I guess is, I have a love for all three formats, but there's a certain love for Test cricket.
Something special about it, isn't it?
Something. I believe it's the pinnacle of our game. We're very fortunate to have three different formats, but Test cricket, there's just something about it. The grind, the hard, the toughness of it, the way it tests you, in a number of ways. It's just like no other format. So yeah, for me, there's a special love for Test cricket.
Boys, thank you very much for your time today. You're both great guys. You're champions on and off the field, quintessential Kiwis. And I know that New Zealand cricket fans will be applauding, cheering you on over the next 5 days, because if they've been lucky enough to watch you throughout your careers, you provide a lot of happiness and joy to the New Zealand cricket fan over the years. So on their behalf, I say thank you for what you've done for New Zealand cricket, and all the best in your 100th Test match. Hope it goes well.